But as we told you, a stat that it's tough to win a basketball game when you lose this just embarrassingly. The rebounding stat last night sounded like this. LSU had 53 boards compared to Arkansas's 24.
Yeah.
As T-Bob told you, 23 of those were on the offensive glass. The second chance points alone, LSU had 26 compared to Arkansas's 0.
Yeah.
Eric Musselman, I was in the post-game press conference last night. Musselman was shrugging his shoulders with his hands in the air, really asking the basketball gods, how in the hell were we in this game? And really, it was by the fact that they shot the ball. LSU wasn't defending the line as well as they could last night, but they made the plays down the stretch when they had to have them. And again, Trendon Watford, the freshman, as we saw in Los Angeles a couple of weeks ago in a loss against Southern Cal, where really he took over the game from LSU's standpoint down the stretch. He did it again last night. This time, it was in the last minute. For 39 minutes and really kind of 30 seconds of that game, 39 minutes and 30 seconds, Darius Days was the player of the game for LSU, and then the freshman, Trendon Watford, just exploded onto the scene within the last minute with a couple of and one buckets to lift LSU to their second SEC win last night. They get it 79-77. There's a lot of things that you can nitpick out of this win, T-Bob, but early on in conference play to get a home victory over a team that Musselman brought in here that was playing, that team plays with a ton of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And having,
Musselman has a ton of energy.
Yeah, he does. but his team is just, from a basketball coaching standpoint, that team, every night they get off the bus, you're never going to have to worry about their effort. And from a basketball coaching standpoint, I mean, that's a lot of relief, right? I mean, like if the top talented teams come out and they just give you their energy and effort every night, they'll probably win 75-80% of their games.
Yeah.
Arkansas's probably won the majority of their games because of the energy that they play with. So to hold that team off last night, with the way some of those guys were shooting it, including, Mason Jones, 4 of 7 from three-point line last night, 6 of 6 from the free throw line, had 24 points. I mean, he was lethal behind the arc and hitting just those dagger type shots, those untimely from LSU standpoint. But, credit Wade and his bench and his crew because they were able to overcome, and Trendon Watford, as we said, really stood out with his 21 points.
Yeah, so I had the game on the background while I was writing this week's Purple and Gold, and so I was kind of watching on and off. Wasn't getting my full attention, but I guess the things that jump out to me, first off, I love seeing them win a close game. If you remember last year, at the very beginning of the year, out of conference play, they lost a few close ones, right? Kind of similar to how some of the out of conference play went this year. And then once the SEC rolled around, they consistently won those 6-minute games. So they checked that box, right? You win the 6-minute game. You make the plays that you have to down the stretch in order to get the win. I love seeing the new faces make the plays down the stretch. You mentioned Trendon Watford, 2 3-point plays in the final 30 seconds. How about this? This, again, comes from Cody Worsham's Twitter feed, which was on fire last night. So I guess Will Wade makes Trendon Watford shoot 50 free throws after every practice.
Yeah, it's a great
and he
story.
has to make 9 of 10 to be allowed to leave, to finish. He has to make 9 of 10. Otherwise, he has to keep shooting. He actually said that the pressure from trying to get out of practice, like be able to go shower and stuff, that pressure actually helped him prepare for that setting. And I think that is actually representative of what one of Will Wade's greatest strengths is, to me, outside looking in, is his ability to mentally prepare his players for the biggest moment. The moment never seems too big for LSU players. So seeing Watford do that was great. And that's also really good because he's going to be fouled all year. He drew 8 fouls last night. Like, he is going to be at that line. And then seeing Charles Manning's defense at the end of the game.
That defensive play was elite.
2 incredible blocks on potential game winners.
Yes.
Both those shots threes from Arkansas. And so I love a team.
Who was that put up the game winner? I don't know if anybody remember. Was it Witt? Because, Witt and Mason, Mason Jones and Jimmy Witt last night were bananas. They went nuts. Jones had 24. Witt had 22. Jones was the one that was throwing the dagger three-pointers. But, Witt was – they were going back and forth for a while.
And then if we mention the domination on the boards, you got to mention Days with the 16 and 16, 9 offensive boards. By the way, that 53-24 disparity that you mentioned, Todd Politz tweeting that is the biggest rebounding win for LSU since 1993. So I know that may not feel like that long ago, but that is now 27 years
They
ago.
cleaned up on the glass last night. I mean, Darius Days, as we said it, for 39 minutes of last night's game, I mean, he was the best player for LSU on both sides of the floor. And I mean, he's got some work to do defensively with his lateral foot speed, but I mean, the ability to hit big shots and crash.
Oh, yeah, and he was 2
glass,
of 3 from 3, right?
Yes.
Like 16 and 16, and he's 2 of 3 from 3.
Those two he hit going into halftime were able to stabilize LSU from being able to be down 9 compared to being down 20.
Yeah.
I mean, those were huge shots that he hit going into halftime.